Very cool.
Well, you seem very suspicious.
I never trust a podcast.
No, I understand, obviously. Why do you say that? What do you not trust?
I'm just kidding.
You
I'm
seem
kidding.
very sincere.
No, no, I love a podcast. You kidding me?
Can I talk to you about your giant straw?
Oh, sure, yeah.
What is that? Is that a glass blown
Glass.
straw?
It's
Uh-huh.
glass.
How
So
do you
as
clean
not
it?
to have metal.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, clean it? What do
How
you
do you
mean?
clean? Yeah, how do you make it clean?
I don't mm, I
You
don't know what
don't,
you mean.
you don't, the concept of cleanliness where,
No, you put it in the dishwasher. It's
okay.
all, and then if you have a smoothie through it, which I've been known to do, you we have
Yeah.
a straw brush.
Uh-huh. That's what you're known for, drinking your smoothies through a glass straw. That's your the shorthand of, oh yeah, Laura Chin, the one who has smoothies with a glass straw.
That's how I'm known. If I'm known, I'm known for that.
Yeah, I hear you. Laura,
Mhm.
I have terrible news. You've just passed on. You've just gone to wherever that may be afterwards, and you have just met your maker, whoever they are in your mind. And they have given you the opportunity to ask one specific question about your life or about life in general.
Okay.
Um, you can ask follow-up questions, and as we proceed, you can realize, oh, that's not what I want to know at all.
Are you gonna answer them?
No, we're going to talk about it. I mean, my God, the hubris if I was like,
I wish so
yeah,
much that you were like, I'm glad
yeah.
you asked.
Oh, that would be so out of character for me.
Uh,
Um, I love that idea. I'm not going to answer them for you, but we will discuss them.
okay. So I just died.
You just died, yes.
I mean, I don't know if I have a lot of questions. Is that
hmm
like crazy?
hmm Is that crazy? No, it's not crazy. And that's why it can be anything from the smallest wonder of, let's say I had only used metal straws instead of my glass straw. Would that have any actual
Would the
physical
metal,
impact
in
on my,
fact, have leached into the water
yeah.
that I was drinking? No, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have questions like why why make it so hard here? Like sometimes
hmm
I get the feeling that there are like energies around us that are trying to help because they're like, uh-oh, we made this place too hard.
hmm
We made it too hard to be alive on Earth, and no one's doing a great job at it, and we're all like
hmm
killing each other and losing our minds. And so sometimes I'm like, is it too hard? Like, because I know that in our current society, like having a child is too hard. Like that, I've decided that. I've like watched people try
Tell
to
me
raise
more about that. What
kids.
do you mean it's too hard to have a
Like I
child?
think it because I think we don't live in tribes anymore. Like we just
hmm
two people, a man and a woman go like, "Hey, let's spend the rest of our lives together in a box away from
hmm
everyone else." And then that's okay. That seems normal to everyone. And then they go into that box and they live by themselves and then they have a child. But our
hmm
other rule in society is that in order to keep surviving, you have to leave your box to go make money. And then you have to
hmm
put the child somewhere, like in another person's box or a bigger
hmm
box with lots of children.
Yeah.
And it's just insane to me. And I watch people do it and I'm like, this doesn't seem easy or fun or like uh like it's set up for you to succeed,
hmm
you know?
Do you think that's specific to how you've chosen to live your life, meaning that you've chosen to inhabit a box with your significant other? Whereas there's plenty of other people in other parts of the world, the
Yes.
country, the city who
Yes.
actually live in multi-generational households who,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, but I think that's like it's like American and then it's like especially like cities, I feel like
yeah.
and it's very American thing. But yes, I think there are so many other ways to do it that seems so much easier.
Hmm.
But this like modern American way feels very hard.
Hmm. I will
Um,
say, and this isn't blaming, you have chosen to live that type of life. I have also chosen to live that type of life where we have put ourselves in our box with our significant other. No one was
yes.
forcing us to do this.
Yes, absolutely. But also I think that like my parents also are people who like my dad lives in the Philippines.
Hmm.
So like he's not available to live in a box with me, and then
Uh-huh.
my mom, I guess I could live with my mom. That is an option, but I could like live with
Hmm.
my mom and she could help. And I was just talking about this to my sister recently, and she had a baby when she was 17. And she
Hmm.
was saying that when she lived with her mom, because we have different moms, when she lived with her mom for a short period of time, she said it was like amazing because she had
Hmm.
help and she had the baby's dad and she had her mom. And that seems much, much, much easier.
Certainly.
But just in general, just this place is just tough. It's a rough planet. There's so
Hmm.
much hardship and suffering, and I think that would be my question is like, let's ease up a little, you know?
So what's implicit in that response is, do you believe that there is, or at least in how you're phrasing this question, there is something that created this and then put a lot of like factors into it that are going to
I
make it
don't
hard?
know. I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know. I don't know. There a lot of the spiritual like sects, they say that this is a university, like or university earth, and we're here to learn how to shed ego and
hmm.
let go of ourselves and let go of all these fake things that aren't important, external things, beauty and money and whatever, and learn to connect with other people or give to other people,
Hmm.
um, help other people, and that's like what we're here for. But I don't know. I don't even know if that's right. But if that is the thing, if that is what we're doing here, it feels too hard. like,
Yeah.
like if they're putting us all here and being like, now grow and learn, and then you look around and you watch the news and you see how people are handling it, and just how you're handling it myself, you're just like, is it working? Is it,
Hmm.
you know, I
I
don't
think we
know.
can both agree or all agree. No one, if you were to say to me, I know this is the definitive reason why we're here, I would
Right.
be very suspect to you or
Yes.
anyone who said that. Or if I were to say to you, like your idea of this universality of, and we're attempting to shed our ego and to be better people. I think it's a great story of to explain our existence, possibly. Yes.
If it's true, I mean, if it's real, sure. It helps you not blow your fucking brains out, right?
Yeah.
It gives you
But
a purpose.
so I guess that's what I'm saying is, does it matter if it's true or not?
No,
You beve it to be true, or you don't necessarily believe it, but you align with it, would you say?
I don't know, because then sometimes I feel like it's just that in and of itself is a sort of egotistical thing. That's like
Hmm.
we're here to learn, and then you go like beyond that to like the thought of just like enlightenment or like being, and then
Hmm.
that whole school of thought is like, no, we're just here to be and be joyful and connect
Hmm.
with nature and be one with the trees. And you're like, okay, that's a very different school of thought than like we're here to fucking suffer and learn and shed
Yeah.
ego. That's a very different thought. And so I don't exactly know.
Do you
I find them
vacillate
all,
between the two? Or do you find yourself?
you know, I guess I do vacillate between the two and maybe many other things too. Um, I feel like I get like a little piece of information and then you're like, that feels true. And then you get a different piece and you're like, oh, maybe that. But somebody
Hmm.
just said to me recently to be grateful for the not knowing.
Hmm.
And I was like, whoa, that kind of hit me because I was like, grateful. But it's like you have this desire to control and like to know, to like
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
what's going on here. And then he said, in the school of thought that he's subscribing to, is just to be grateful that you don't know.
Yeah, I believe, and I could be, I'm misremembering this term, I believe, but I think it was called Socratic ignorance, was the understanding, Socrates' belief that there are certain things that are just beyond the realm of human understanding, and that's fine, and to be, not just be joyous in that fact, but to not, therefore don't dwell on those things. Does that make sense? There's,
Yeah.
but which is convenient, but also it's very scary to have no definitive answer for the biggest questions we face, namely, what the fuck am I doing and why don't I blow my brains out? And I know that's an extreme
Yeah.
statement, but
No,
like,
that's true. Oh my God.
um,
It's true. It's probably the most asked question that no one ever wants to say out loud.
but it kind of feels like it's the underpinning of every interaction we're having with people to some degree is based on that.
Mhm.
You're choosing to um, engage in a relationship with your significant other. Uh, that probably is because it answers some sort of question of this is my purpose or this perhaps is my has my purpose. Does that make sense?
I guess. I don't know. I
Uh,
don't I have no idea. I I mean I like to be present in this marriage relationship and be
mhm,
present enough to be like I'm choosing to be here. But
yeah.
I don't know what I'm choosing. We're all brainwashed within an inch of our lives. It's impossible
Uh,
to know what you're choosing because you're especially when you're doing something that's like so beat into you from birth as like you will be married someday, you know.
yeah.
So especially to do that and then be like, no, I'm doing this with my full conscious choice is like you
Mhm.
might not be, but so I don't know, but I like it so far. I like it.
Is this a possible question you could ask this maker then of what did I really do in my life? A full conscious choice as opposed to brainwashing beat into brain since birth.
Yeah, and he'd be like, you when you died.
That was your only
That was your
choice.
full conscious choice to check out of this place. No, I don't know. That's a good question because I don't think I know. And every time I think I know, then I step out of it and I'm like, God, Jesus, I got brainwashed again.
Does does this cause any existential dread for you? Or what you're saying is like I think I know. Do you think about this a lot? Like what are you doing consciously? What are you doing as a result of habit? What are you doing as a result of
Yeah,
um, are
yeah, I
those
do.
things you consider?
It's sure,
Mhm.
absolutely, because y- yes. Um, and when we got married, we had to really step back and be like, what do we, because people are like, what kind of wedding do you want? And you're like, well, I could never know because I'm supposed to have a certain kind of wedding. And that's like, what you're supposed to do. So I feel like I ask those questions as much as I can, be like, what do I actually want? Um, but it's hard to even answer because there's so much ego involved and there's so much like trying to keep up with what you're supposed to do involved and you can
Mhm.
move it and strip it aside and like really be like but what brings me joy, but then what rushes in is like attention and fame and popularity and money. All the lies rush in and you're like ah damn
Are they lies or are they, I mean, they stimulate your nerve endings. We are organic beings, right? It's
it.
nice to have nice things and money and food and comfort and warmth.
Those sure yeah
Yeah.
I'd say comfortable things yeah
Hmm.
totally yeah, but I think like those spikes, those looking for those like spikes, whatever it is, like
Serotonin,
really
like
great news. Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, I just think that there's so like one side of a coin and then the other side of the coin is just like waiting for you. That
100%. Yeah.
when you lean into like, no, this is real. This feels really great because I'm experiencing whatever, some big event or some big thing. It's just the other side of the coin is just right there where you're like, oh, it's over and now what? And all those
Hmm.
questions. Um, so yeah,
I was
it's
thinking about that today, and they often say the saddest day in a very successful professional actor, director, writer's life is the day after the Oscars, if they win. It's
yeah.
because essentially it's like, well, now what? Um, it's a very it must that side of the coin must be very deep, or in any business where you achieve what you believe to be the marquee of your success, and then it goes
Oh,
away.
and really when you really do believe that it was going to give you some lasting feeling of happiness or confidence,
Yes.
it's brutal when you find out how wrong you are. It's a brutal realization when you're like, oh, I still have the same, and that's true for everything. That's true for moving. When you're like, oh,
Hmm.
when I move, I'm gonna feel better.
Yeah.
When I move to a new place, I'm gonna feel better. And then after the year or 2 years or whatever, you're like, ah, fuck. Like it doesn't moving or winning the Oscar or whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
so sadly doesn't last.
No, AA calls it pulling a geographical when people are like, "Oh, I can stop drinking if I can just move to a new city."
Yeah.
And I think one of the toughest things for me to recognize is it doesn't matter where I go. I mean, there, wherever you go, there you are. In the sense of I'm
Hmm.
trapped in this hellscape of my brain. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter the beauty that I see around
No.
me, the lovely
Mm-mm.
ocean views, the sounds of nature. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
matter.
No.
Um, yeah.
It's about like you have to like fundamentally rewire yourself in order to get out of the trap because anything external is a trap. And telling
Hmm.
yourself that anything external is going to fix it is a fucking trap. Whether it's plastic surgery or clothes or a job or a fucking another person, whatever it is, like
Yeah.
it's just a trap. Um, and it's endless. And then I think, the sooner that you can like discover that, tap into other things, the closer you can be to not blowing your brains out, maybe.
Uh, that's the only goal of this podcast is to be like, what a terrible. What if this started with like Laura? Here's the deal. I'm thinking of ending it. You got a half an hour to talk me out of this shit, and I'm not kidding.
A
Do not
great
fuck.
podcast. Are you kidding? That's a
I always
great
want to write.
podcast.
I wanted to write a movie about a band that was suffering. The lead singer's like, "Here's the deal," and like, and during the show, he's like, "I will kill myself by the end of the summer tour on stage." And as a result, the band becomes massively popular because people want to be at that show when he does it.
Oh
Um,
no.
but also, who's gonna watch a movie that dark? It's just really for me to. Um, well, I want to go back to one thing that you were saying, the spikes of happiness and if you don't have those, what keeps you going day to day? In the sense of, aren't you moving to try to get some, like you're moving towards pleasure, right? Or something. What if you're trying to avoid these happiness spikes that come from external praise, buying nice clothes, whatever? What is your internal engine powered by?
Oh gosh, I mean, I wish it wasn't powered by that,
Hmm.
but it it's it's a combination of like um I think fortunately I genuinely really love the act of doing what I do for a living. Like I love the
Hmm.
sitting down and the doing it.
Yeah.
That is something that is like pure,
Yeah.
and connected to my like highest self and my imagination, my creativity, like inner child play. Like that is something that is pure. And that is a thing that I want to do every day. Um,
That's so wonderful. I feel like that is a rarity. Do you find even
Oh, I
people who
think
do
people get so
exactly
mad at
what you
me
do?
when I tell them that. I think
Uh,
writers get so mad at me because
yeah.
I was baffled in my early 20s when I was like first starting to like write professionally, and I would sit and listen to people talk about how much I fucking hate writing, and I was like, what? Oh, I thought we all liked doing this. I thought we liked it because
Huh.
like yeah, I thought that was the whole thing, was that we liked it, but um no, that's not true for most people.
I
For
could
most
see.
writers, I would say they hate it.
Are they
Yeah.
mad at you, or are they just? Because when I hear you say that, I'm insanely jealous that you possess that, and not and that doesn't equate to me being mad at you. I
Yeah, yeah,
want that
yeah,
from you. Like I want to know how to feel that way about something
yeah.
that's good for you, as opposed to I feel that way about things that are destructive to me.
Like
So
what?
like I love to drink, and like that's like that makes me feel like we all like doing this, right? Or like I like to run extremely long distances where my body is wrecked as a result.
Okay.
So you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
but like the simple act of I'm not saying the simple act of writing. I mean the idea of sitting down and not having to have it be this extreme thing, and yet it brings you pleasure is
Do you have that with improv?
I do. I
Yeah.
love improvising, and it's the
Yeah.
only time when I don't know if you feel this way, that like time, I don't even notice time,
Yeah.
or I don't even I'm not in my brain. I'm not
Yeah.
judging, or I'm just like truly living. Like when people speak about presence, that to me is
Yes.
presence.
Yes, and that's it, right? It's when your
Yeah.
ego's quiet and when those all the lies of I hate this person or am I better than them or they better than me and just like fucking chatter chatter. Those moments when those lies move aside and you can just be with another person or be with the creative act when you're a
Yeah.
child playing with a toy, that was what writing feels like. And it feels like improv feels that way too for me. Like it's so, and that's
Yeah.
why it's so like, and addictive isn't the right word because I feel like that has negative connotations, but that's why it's so um that feeling of flow, that
Yes.
time to time doesn't exist and I'm just here and I'm being, and it's so wonderful. And I think that ultimately motivates me the most is like, I want to feel that. I want to get back to that feeling, whether it's like within this script, on the stage, whatever it is. I don't
Mm,
really feel it as much with like acting, like paid acting in front of a camera. I
yeah.
haven't felt that. I sometimes when I like see like or hear about like Leonardo DiCaprio working with a director and like they
Mm,
rehearse and it's all like artistic. I'm like, wow,
yeah.
that's probably very different than like doing a guest star on an ABC sitcom,
Yeah. I think
you know.
I think like doing live theater or doing something where you are
Yes,
actually rehearsing for a
live
movie in like
theater.
if you're rehearsing for a movie and you're able to actually
Yes,
you
be
are
in it
actually
and connect
be
with it and you have
yeah
time. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure you go into flow. I'm sure it's very different than like low budget cable comedies.
I don't think so. I think it's the exact same thing. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, like those things that bring flow. It's fortunate that you have found a way to unify a thing that brings you flow and a thing that is a career. Whereas like improv brings flow, but like what are you gonna do with it? It's not a career.
Yeah.
Or like doing live theater. There's a few people can have a living doing that, but it's
And I'll say like the majority of my writing career, I've not been in flow because I've been in a writer's room, and a
hmm
writer's room is not that experience. It's not a writer's room is not
hmm
like I'm in flow and we're all playing and da da da. It's not. Unfortunately, there's a lot of emotions and ego and stuff that takes you out of the feeling of just sitting in front of your keyboard and like imagining a world and like playing Barbies or whatever. Um, so so in that instance, I'm like I'm driven by money. In
hmm
that instance, I'm driven by like a home, stability, food, that kind of stuff,
hmm
which isn't as pure, I guess, but is as is a necessity.
Yes, to a
Yeah.
point. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Do you struggle with that? Like whether or not you have like an affinity for that thing that is so purely external? Like definitive thing of an external thing that causes pain is money for people. Like, which seems antithetical to like I can't imagine there's a spirituality of wealth. Maybe there is, but it feels a little contradictory.
I know it is. It's tough to buy like a purse with like Italian designer name brands all over it and not be very aware of like your ego is at play and you need everyone to know how much money you have.
hmm
And yet I do it.
hmm
I fully do it with full awareness that I'm like, I have an insecurity that I'm going to try to like heal with this name brand purse that no one gives a fuck about, but it's going to make me feel like a better person.
But I think that
Um,
awareness is a huge step, and maybe we give people too much credit for that, but you know why you're doing it.
right.
It's not like you were driven and you're like, I just need this other thing. You're aware of like, I have something that I feel is lacking from whatever part of my past or anything. I'm going to attempt
But
to
then
make
I'm
up for it.
also aware that as soon as I buy it, it's gonna mean nothing to me. I'm also aware of like I like see the whole picture, but the ego's too strong. You know, I'm like I'm in
Yeah.
a Chanel store going, oh, that purse is so expensive. If I buy it, it's gonna make me feel better. No, it's not. Of course it's not. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there times when you're in that store looking at that person, you're like, it's going to make me feel good for the moment. And then and then you choose not to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd be fucking completely broke if not. No. And it's actually like um I I live like I'm poor in a lot of ways because I grew
hmm
up without money. And
Yeah.
so I can't spend $6,000 on a purse, even though a lot of peers I know or whatever are doing that.
hmm
I can't spend car money on a purse. And I don't think I ever will be able to.
Yeah.
Um for fear of being without money someday, and then also just with the like knowledge of how many people need that money for things that are so much more important.
Yeah.
So I
Do you have a
struggle with
limit?
like
Do you got a ceiling? You're like,
I
what's
have a
your purse
ceiling.
limit? Like, I'll spend
$1,000.
3K at a purse. Without like, is it like,
It's I've not gone above $1,000. I don't think
uh,
I can do it. I mean, talk to me in like fucking 10 years. I'll be like covered in purses. I'll have lost my soul.
I'll be way dead,
God
but
willing.
someone else, you get up.
Your brains will be blown out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Long blown
They'll
out.
be mop those up. Yeah, yeah. No new person living in this house. I love that you'll be like the most well dressed homeless person. Like you're just covered. You're poor as fuck, but you are.
That's what you're doing though when you're buying those things. And I was looking on a consignment website because any purse that I do buy that's designer, I buy it used.
Mhm.
Um,
You're
and
recycling.
great because it's like I have a low self-esteem. I need this brand, but I can't fully afford it.
Mm.
It's just so complicated. But so I was looking at this website of this purse I really want, and it's a gorgeous bag, and I've tried it on in New York. I've been looking at it for 3 years. I think it's $2,000. I won't buy it, but I look
Mhm.
on it every once in a while on consignment. And on this
Yeah.
website, it said a good investment, which like it's not a good investment.
As if it's like some sort of ETF or stock that you're like,
I
this
know
appreciates,
this
they go
is
up
a
to about
fucking
8% every year.
not a good investment. Do not lie to people. But I read an economy book, Susie Orman, who writes financial books for women.
Yes.
She said in all of her years of being a financial advisor, she has never ever met a person who is in debt who does not have a low self-esteem.
Uh-huh. In their way of getting out of it was they
Yes,
thought, yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Would you
So,
say that's your main vice?
a purse buying,
No, no, or just in general, like consumerism.
consumerism, shopping is definitely something that I'm consistently trying to curb.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think I have a problem with it. I don't think it's not like it never my accountant would never be like, Laura, what's going on? So like,
Yeah, yeah.
and my husband's always like, let me get you a gift for your birthday, and I'm like, no, that's too expensive. So I definitely like, it's not like it's not causing a financial problem, but it is coming from a place that I'm aware of is not pure, like, so I guess that is a vice, because I'm like, I know this craving, this empty feeling that I think is going to be filled by like touching clothes in a Madewell is not,
Hmm.
but the feeling is still there.
But can I propose this? Perhaps the meaning of this life is just to constantly find a different way to fill that empty void until time is gone. And that's kind of how I approach
No,
it.
no, it can't be.
The void's never going away. It's just constant. So you're putting new stuff in, then you're like, no, keep going, keep.
Stuffing in the void. You know why I don't believe that? Because my void used to be the size of planet Earth,
Mhm.
and now it's just like Africa and Asia and like the European continents.
So it's
You know what I mean?
narrowing. Yes. And I will say in that time, you've got a lot more nicer purses. So who knows what you filled that void with to actually get
Wait,
it from
you're
planet Earth.
right. It
So
might my whole being might be purses and then the void.
do you feel like in this town it's especially tough because there are the levels of wealth, and you could be around people who are so insanely wealthy. I know this is in a lot of places, but in this business in particular, there are people who can own a $6,000 purse who will think like, oh my God, you only own a $6,000 purse. It's not. It's tough to compete in a playing field that is has there's so much wealth.
I thankfully am not around that many very wealthy people. Like everyone that I know is like TV writers, like everyone's in the kind of like what would be like upper middle class in a different state. And it's
Hmm.
like hard middle in Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like everyone I kind of know.
Hmm.
Every once in a while I get thrown out of my fantasy where I'm doing really well. I'll get like chucked out of that fantasy every once in a while by going to someone's house who's like a millionaire. And I'm like,
Uh,
oh fuck, I'm very
uh,
poor.
uh.
And that is hard, but I don't ever feel pressured to compete because there's no competition, like
Hmm.
I'm not going to be able to go to, spend 6 grand on a dress or whatever to go over to their house and like compete with them. So it's more me being like, wow, there's so many different kinds of people and everyone lives very differently.
Yeah, yeah.
But competing isn't possible.
Hmm.
But I think within like the middle class bubble, there's like, you'll go to someone's like new house and you're like, wow, their house
Yeah.
is definitely bigger than ours. Like you'll feel that,
But
then you just put an addition on your house and it's fine.
that's it. That's it. The void is full. The void is full. The void will never be empty again. I am good. I am good. I am happy. But even owning a house in Los Angeles is a huge accomplishment for people. Like
Yeah.
it's we there's plenty of people we know who it's so hard to own a house in
Yeah,
this
it
city.
really is. And
Yeah,
then you don't actually own it, the bank does. But it's
yeah,
fun to say that you do own it. It's
that's
fun to
true.
say that you own it while you're paying the bank.
Yeah, it's so enjoyable.
um, I know. And then my parents never owned. Well, my dad bought a house in Florida in the '80s for like I think $60,000, but
Hmm.
he never owned property out here. But he lived out here for a long time, uh, and they lived out here in the '80s when they could have like bought a house in LA and then become millionaires. Like
Hmm.
sold it and become millionaires. And so I definitely was like, oh, I want to get in on that like thing that seems like happened to my parents where they bought property and then it appreciated so much. But then it's also kind of like Can it keep appreciating? Can it?
No. I mean,
It
can it?
can't.
It depends on I mean, how long is your life going to be? You can live the lifetime in which it will always appreciate for you, but there's no way
Yeah.
it's, you know what I'm saying? That's because your lifetime is going to be 80 years or whatever. So perhaps, but no. I mean, once there's a major earthquake in the city, that's, and we're real due, then I think we're going to have a little bit of a crash right now. But
This
it
bubble,
does
this real
feel.
estate bubble.
I mean, again, this is like trying to answer the question of I don't know the answer of the meaning of this life. I have no idea. If
It's
someone could predict the end of the
insane.
real estate bubble in California, they would be
Yeah.
insanely wealthy.
I was in Big Sur, and there was a house that was they bought for 500,000 in the 90s, and they were selling it for 5 million.
Hmm. That's a good
That's
investment.
fucking great. Good investment.
That's a good investment. I'm gonna say, like, I
And
think
it's like
Susie Orman would be
teetering on
like,
the
good
cliff.
investment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's teetering on the cliff of Big Sur.
Is it really right
Um,
on the edge of Big Sur?
yeah, there's so many houses. And I just read an article on NPR that said within your 30-year mortgage, anyone who buys a house on the coast is not gonna be able to get into their home because it's gonna be in the ocean.
What a metaphor for Los Angeles, really, of like, it won't happen to me. Like, I'll be
I
famous.
know.
All these other people, their houses are gonna get destroyed, but I'm the
I'm
one.
gonna survive global warming
Yeah.
because I'm very, very rich and famous.
Very rich.
We'll see.
I have good news for you. You did not pass away. You are still here,
Oh, okay.
and you did not have a specific question. And I want to propose this to you. Do you think it's because you do, as you said, the void is smaller, and that you are engaged in a career that you feel um, pleasure and satisfaction? Do you feel like you're perhaps the reason you don't have a specific question for when you pass away is because you feel fairly satisfied now?
No, not because of career, but because of um co- almost constant inner work.
Hmm.
Um like just every day meditating
Hmm.
so many minutes of the day.
Hmm.
Um
Can you put a
I
number on it?
see uh 2 hour, like, and maybe an hour in the morning and like an hour in the evening before bed.
Hmm.
I see an inner child specialist. I go to like a chiropractor who helps me pull emotions out of my body. I'm seeing
Hmm.
some lady who's like helping me with allergies from a metaphysical standpoint. Like, I'm constantly
Hmm.
digging into those places, um, looking at those fears, those feelings of inadequacy, not, not good enough, self-esteem stuff that you think is being filled with a purse. I'm trying, and have been for many years, looking for those sources, and
Hmm.
reprogramming, reparenting, whatever it is, but filling yourself back up with a feeling of like love,
Hmm.
love for yourself, love for other people, love for being here. And that is the only thing. Career is never going to do it, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Even if you really love it, I love it, but it's always going to be ups and downs.
Certainly. I guess just like the daily practice of engaging in something that happens to be your career.
Yeah, that's
Um,
good. I like that.
but what I will say from what you just said is perhaps a question is what were the things that within me felt like they were wrong? How would have been the most efficient way for me to fix the things in me that didn't feel right? Do you know what I'm saying? Because you're saying I spend so much time on
So much
processing.
time.
So it feels like that's a question, and I'm not putting this on you as I sometimes think, and my answer to this question changes all the time. That my question would be, what is the one thing I could have done most efficiently to get rid of my anxiety? What would have been the
Hmm.
one, like of all the things I tried? I think that'd be an
Hmm.
answer I would have loved from a creator. I would love from a creator, at least
Yeah.
today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so, because do you enjoy all the inner work you do?
Yes. I
Good.
enjoy the results. I
Hmm.
enjoy um shifting and changing and watching myself shift and change, grow, and things that I
Hmm.
never would have thought I was capable of, feelings that I never thought I would be capable of.
Hmm.
Um and just uh everything, like quality of life changes, the way I interact with people changes, my skill level at my job changes
Hmm.
from doing inner stuff. And that is like, I almost can't wait. I almost can't wait to see, like, when I go through this person's 8-week inner child program. I can't wait to see what happens on the other end when I have a conversation with one of my parents, you know,
Mm,
or how am I around this family member? How am I around my boss or whatever it is? It's so rewarding. It's like magic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Laura Chinn, you're truly a delightful human being. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Um, do you have any final thoughts for me?
No, I think you're a delightful human being. I like the
That's nice.
subject matter of this podcast. I'm glad you're doing it. I think it's like, as soon as you asked that question, I was like, oh, this is so Brandon in such a wonderful way. Like, such a
Oh,
great
thank you.
thing for you to be able to talk about the stuff that you care about. It's great.
I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you, Laura. I hopefully get to see you in person sometime soon.
No, no.
That seems fair.